What's up, guys? Carl here. Today we're going to get started with SQL. So if you're new to these videos, make sure you hit the subscribe and smash that thumbs up and leave a comment below for any other videos or tutorials that you guys want to see me do. Look forward to seeing reviews, tutorials, and anything related to tech so we can continue to learn on the go as we grow. Getting started, the first thing you want to go ahead and do is you want to come to this link right here, and I'll provide this link in the description. And when you get to this link, you'll get this page. You scroll down and you're going to download the developer free version right here. Now the difference in between the developer and the express, the developer, as you can see here, is a full featured free edition licensed for uses as development and test database in the non-production environment, while the express version is the free edition of the SQL Server, ideal for development for desktop, web, and small server applications. So for the sake of this video, we're going to download the free version. After you download that free version, you're going to get asked the question at the end, do you want to download SSMS? And you do. So when you get prompted to download SSMS, you can go ahead and hit that prompt, or you can use the link down in the description here and scroll down to download SSMS to download this free downloadable SQL Server Management Studio. Once you get that downloaded, what you're going to do here is you're going to go to search, and then you're going to search for SQL Server Configuration Manager. So you click on that, and once you pull this up, you're going to click on SQL Server Services. And once you click on SQL Server Services, you're going to see that your SQL Server is actually running. Now, here you can control the pause, you can stop the service, or you can restart your service. So this is the main thing that you want to be sure that you have, so you know that your SQL Server is actually running. After you confirm that, you can go ahead and close that out. And what I did was pin it to my taskbar here. The next thing you want to search for is you want to search for Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So once you pull up that Management Studio, you want to make sure you confirm that the SQL Server Database Engine server name is the name of your PC. If you don't see anything here, what you can do is go ahead and browse for more and hit that plus sign, and you'll see that your database engine CPU is there. So we're going to keep this Windows authentication, and we can also go ahead and hit connect. Now once we connect, the first thing we notice is we have an Object Explorer that basically shows us our SQL Server being our PC, and it shows us all the subfolders that comes within that folder. Now you have a Connect Object Explorer, which is a way for you to connect other servers. So if you're doing this in your company or something like that, then you can hit this connect piece and you can connect to other servers. And if you want to disconnect, you just hit this disconnect piece right here. You can also do a refresh if you added some new databases and you want to just go ahead and refresh those databases in there. And for the sake of this video, we're going to be focusing on databases. And when I click on that plus sign, you're going to see that there are no databases set up yet because this is a brand new server. And in order to get some databases, we either have to import them in from another SQL server or create the databases ourselves. So let's go ahead with those steps. Now in this tutorial, you can do two things. You can start a new database, or you can go ahead and restore a database using files or file groups. So for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to start a new database. So we're going to click on new database, and we're going to give this database a name. And let's just go ahead and call this database Learn on the Go. And then we're going to just hit OK. Now we have Learn on the Go database, right? Go here and put new query. All right, so now we have our Learn on the Go database. We're going to start creating the tables within that database. So what we're going to do, we can just go ahead and put your caps on, and we're going to type create table. And this particular table is just, let's say for example, your company have employees, which all companies do. So we're just going to call this the employee table. Okay, going to hit enter. Now that we did that, we want to specify what the column names are going to be and the data types for each one of those columns. Employee ID, and we want this to be an integer, so we're going to say int, then hit enter. Then we're going to do, so now that we have an employee ID, now we want to make first names. All right, so we're going to say first name, and we're going to make this a varchar, and we're going to make this 50. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Next one, you guessed it, it's going to be last name. And again, this is going to be varchar 50. Next, let's go ahead and do age. And we can make this one an integer because it's a number. Let me go back and capitalize these as well, because we want to have some uniform tables. Then the last but not least, we're going to do gender. And we're going to do, this is varchar as well. All right, so now we have our very first table. So what we can do is go up here to execute and just run that. All right, so now you can see down here where it says commands completed successfully, completion time. Now to see if this works, you come over here to tables, you can right click it and hit refresh. And what do you see here? You see the DBO employee table. Okay. All right, so we see we have that employee table. So that is how we set that up. So now that we have our first table, all right, so now let's go ahead and get our second table created. So let's just highlight everything. We're going to come here to comment out selected lines. We're just going to comment those out. So now we're going to do our second table. So in this table, we're going to basically do the same thing, but this is going to be our employee salary table. So let's just, those same steps, create table. And then let's just say MP salary. And then remember, we have to have a primary key, and that's why it's important that we had that employee ID. So now we can just say emp ID, and that is also going to be an integer. And just to keep these things consistent, let's go ahead and just spell it out. Employee ID. So it's going to be spelled the same as up here as down here. And next we want to know job titles. And remember, we're going to make that a varchar because we're talking about words instead of numbers. And then last but not least, salary. And I'm going to make that an integer. We can say close parentheses after that. So once we've done that, hit execute, and then it says this completed successfully. Then we can come over here to tables and do refresh. Now we see that we have employee table as well as the employee salary. Okay, now that we have those two tables created, let's go take a look and see what's in those tables. So when you open up these tables, and you can see the results here, you see that there's nothing in there. However, you can confirm that you have your employee ID column, first name column, your last name column, and your age, and then your gender column. And if we do the same thing with employee salary, we're going to open that one up as well. and we see that we have our employee ID column, our job title, and then our salary. All right, so now that we have those, one thing we want to do is a hard refresh. So we're going to do Control, Shift, and R, and it gets rid of that, so it recognizes it as a table, and we can go ahead and open up the other one and do the same thing. Okay, so yeah, so it was a hard refresh. All right, now that we verified our tables, we can just go ahead and start closing these out because you don't need a lot of tabs open. And since we created our tables, now we can get rid of this. And when you hit execute, nothing happens because there's no errors to be had. All right, so now let's go ahead and start inputting data into our tables. So the way we do this is we come here, we say insert into, and we're going to pick, I pointed at it, but we're going to pick the employee table first. So let's just go ahead and say employee table, and it lets you kind of get, and then we're going to say values. All right, so let's just start with 1001, comma, I'll just be the first employee. You can be the first employee in yours, or I can be the first employee, whichever one you think is fine. Then we'll put the age, and I'll just put a fake age. And then let's go gender. Okay, so once you do that, you can go here and say execute. And how do you know if that actually did what you wanted to do? You say, you go to your employee table, you pull that up, and once you run that, you'll see that the first employee ID is 1001, and the first name is Carl Huff, age 21, and gender male. So I'll forever be 21. All right, so cool. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna kind of clip it, and I'm gonna add a little bit. I'm gonna probably add 9 more employees for you guys, but I don't want to bore you with it. But take the time yourself and pause and just repeat these steps until you add 9 more employees to your table, and then let's pick up after we've done that. All right, so once we have the data that we want inside of our employee table, we're going to go ahead and hit execute. And then what we can do is come back here, hit execute again, and now, all right, so we have an additional Carl Huff here, and we're going to get into how you delete rows and additional items that you may not need in your data later on in these tutorials. But for now, we're going to keep pushing on because I don't want to throw you guys off track. So we're going to come back here, and like we did on the last one, I'm going to go ahead and comment out. And remember, we can use this same data or the same method to go ahead and start entering in our data for our employee salary. So let's just go here, insert into employee salary, values, and then let's just go 1102, and we're just going to throw some random titles up for a bunch of people. All right, so now that we have all our data for our employee salary, we can see here that we're basically finished. So let's go ahead and hit execute. You see that everything affected those roles. We can come here, and now we see that everything has been updated in that employee salary table. All right, so now that we have our salary table, remember what I said the last time when we had these duplicates right here. So a way we're going to go ahead and get rid of that is we're going to come here. We can just get rid of this. They hadn't made any changes. So let's just go to new query. And what we're going to do is we're going to type here delete from, and remember that table that we were deleting from was the employee table. So employee table, and then we're just going to do a simple where clause where employee ID, where it says employee ID is equal 101. So this is what I'm going to, so I'm going to say 101. Once I do that, hit execute. 2 rows were affected because 2 rows were identified as 101. So when I come here and hit refresh, I'll see that 101 is now gone. Now, if I want to go ahead and add that back, remember, all I have to do is come here and do another insert into employee table, values, remember you want to be able to put that information back since you made a duplicate. Remember it was Carl, which is me. Remember my awesome age. I'll forever be 21. And then I'll just hit execute. Now if we go back here and hit execute again, we'll see that they put me back in place where I belong. So now we can go ahead and get started with the rest of this exercise. So now that we have our employee table as well as our employee salary table, what we can do now is let's just get rid of this. We can get rid of this, and we can also go ahead and get rid of this. All right, so nothing to save here. Okay, so now that we've done that, so now we can start using some select statements, right? So if we wanted to just see everything, we can say select star from employee table and just hit execute. Now we can see everything from our employee table. Now if we want to see everything from our salary table, we can do that. Now we can see everything from our salary table. Now how do we get to the point where now we just want to see some first names, last names, whatever? So in order to do that, let's just back all the way out of that. So we can go select, and then let's just go, and we can kind of use our cheat sheet here as well. So let's just all right, so using our cheat sheet, let's just back that up. So if you want to come here and you say, hey, I see that this, and I just ran this query so you can see this data. I just want to see all the first names, right? So you come here, you get rid of this asterisk. You come here and say, I just want to see first names. So now when I run this query, all I will see is first names because I'm still looking at this employee table, right? And if I come here and say, you know what, I just want to see last names, you run that query, and now you just see last names. Now, and this is just kind of keeping it in, simple form, right? All right, so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be talking about a few things here. So let me just go ahead and comment this out, and we're just going to talk about these select statements. These are the things that we're going to be talking about, right? So we briefly just went over give me all. So let's just go over top, right? Next thing we're going to do is top, right? So just say, for example, you got tables with thousands of rows in them. What you want to do is say, give me top, and I'll just top 5 of everything, right? And if you execute that, you'll see that you get the top 5 of everything, right? And you can do the same thing with first name, last name, employee ID, age, and gender, but it's giving you the top 5 of everything, right? So that's the way you can use top. All right, so let's just go ahead and return everything then, and then let's just talk about distinct. Now, whenever you say distinct, what this does is this, when you say give me select distinct, what you're doing is you want everything that's unique in each different column, right? So for an example, you'll see 1001, 1002, 1003, 4, 5, so on and so forth. But if you have duplicates in this column, then those columns, so let's just show you an example here. So give me employee ID, and if I execute that, it's going to show you all the employee ID but the distinct employee IDs. Now if we come back here, and I'll just do this, hit execute. Now let's just take gender for an example. So if I come here and say select distinct, and then I say gender, now what am I asking for? Give me those two select distinct. So I'm not asking for all males or all females. I'm just asking for the distinct values, right? So if it's female 100 times and it's male 50 times, all I want is there males or is there females, right? So I want to know if there are those distinct values. Okay, let's go ahead and get everything back. And next we're going to look at count. So right now I want to say give me select count, and let's just pick on age. So when I select age, count age. All right, so right here real quick, if you notice, there were duplicates. So it was 11 plus 11, which made 21. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed through this because I noticed this as soon as I did it, and I went ahead and fixed it, but I didn't want to stretch the video longer than it needed to be. So I went ahead and fixed it using a CTE statement, and I'm going to quickly show you guys what that is right here, and we're going to just continue to push through. Here's a quick query to go ahead and get rid of any duplicates that you may have, and this is what I did. So you're going to run a common table expression. So with the common table expression, as select the rows that were affected. So this is just pretty much just a quick query that I ran to get rid of those duplicates. All right, so now that those duplicates are gone, we can go ahead and get rid of this. And I'll just say this too, once you start querying, you'll basically start deleting a lot of them. But as a person that's new to SQL, what you want to do is just go ahead and save those queries that kind of help get you over the hump for the most part. So what you can do is you can set up you a file somewhere. What I like to do is I'll set up a folder and call it, SQL shortcuts or something, or SQL tips. So that'll be in my folder, and then this will be, I'll just call it that. All right, and I can share that with you guys so you can kind of grab it out of the description and use it for yourselves. Okay. All right, so we are now back here, and it's a good thing we went ahead and did that count. So now when we come here and say count last name from employee table, now we know we get 11. And now you know that you don't have any duplicates because you created 11 rows. All right. So now let's go into as. Now the as statement is pretty simple, and all you're doing here is, you see how it says no column name. So to give this a name, we're gonna say as last name count. All right, and then we're gonna execute that. Now you see that that column has a name. Cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of our data once again. All right, so we have everything, and now we want to start looking at max, min, and average. And in order to do that, we could use our ages, but I specifically added some pretty in-depth salaries. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come at the end of this right here, and we're going to look at our salaries table. So let's just execute. So now we see all of our salaries. We see that the CEO has $3,000 a year, and so on and so forth. So first thing is max. So this is pretty simple. You just type in max, and then you're gonna highlight, well, not highlight, but you want to know what column you're going to be using. So we're going to be using the salary column. So just type in salary, and you'll see those things disappear. Run that, and now you see that that's the max salary. Now if we want to look at the minimum salary, we come here, change max to min, run that, and now we can see that that's the minimum salary. And if we want to see an average, and if we just change that to average, now we can see that this is the average salary, right? So if somebody was doing some research on this particular work group, they can say, well, the average salary here is over $100,000. So that looks pretty good, right? So, all right, so that's how you do that in a nutshell. All right, so now we're going to be talking about the where statement. So to talk about the where statement, let's go ahead and get back to our employee table. Let's execute that. So, okay, so we're at our employee table. And to just go ahead and get started, we have equals, less than and greater than, less than, greater than, and, or, like, null, not null, or in. So let's go ahead and start with in. So with our select statement all from the employee table, we're just going to say where, let's just say first name equals, and let's just pick on me, Carl. In order to do this, you see how when you click Carl, it has those syntax errors. So what you want to do is make sure that you put it out there just like that, hit execute, and now you can see that when you do where first name equals Carl, that's only finding that that person, right? So now we can let's just do this, get everything back. The next thing we want to do is use our less than greater than, which means does not equal, right? So if we do this, does not equal Carl, and we run execute, we see that we have everything coming back except for Carl, right? So now let's look at our greater than and less than. So for our greater than and less than, remember we have to use an integer. So we're going to be looking at our age column. So let's just say where age let's just say what are the options we have here. And remember, Carl is still an option, so let's just say 23. So if we execute that, we'll see where age is less than 23, and the only person that pops up is Carl. All right, now if we wanted to reverse that, we can say is greater than 23, and we hit execute, we get everybody that comes back greater than 23. Now if I wanted to get the person that was 23, then I can just go ahead and say 22, and now I see that person that's also 23, which in this age group. Now if I wanted to just say, give me everybody 30 and up, how many people you got 30 and up in your group? Now I can see all the people that's above 30. And if I wanted to say, well, give me all the people that are below 30 in your group, now I see you got 3 employees that are below 30 in your group. So you got some room to grow there. Good deal. Now, if I say, let's go into and to do our and, we're just going to go right back into it. Let me just comment this out so we can get all our data back. All right. So as far as and goes, we're going to say, give me where we're going to keep it at age. And I want to say, I want the age to be greater than or equal to, let's just say greater than or equal to 30. And gender equals female. I'm gonna hit execute. Now we see where the age is greater than or equal to 30 and the gender is female. Now if we wanted to change that to see the males in the group, we could do the same thing there, where age is greater than or equal to 30 and the gender is males. So you can kind of see if your work group has some type of balance, which it looks like it has more males than females over the age of 30. And if I wanted to look at this the other way, less than, you see that it has 1 female under 30 and 3 males under 30. Okay. All right. So let's flip this back to greater than or equal to. And then let's change this here to or. So or is basically saying anyone that meets these criteria of greater than equal to 30, or anybody that's a male, right? So you see here, Carl Huff meets this criteria because he's a male. However, he is not greater than or equal to 30. All right, so the next thing we're going to dive into is our like command. So in order to do this, and like I said, this is what I like to do to just get all my data back. So we're going to come here and we're going to say where, then let's just say, let's see. Okay, last name. Let's go with last name since I got 2 S's in that. So last name is like, and I'm going to go S%. And what this means is when you say S%, this means that anything that starts with S and you don't care what the rest of it is. Now to do this in reverse, if you want to say ends with S and you don't care what's ever in the front of it, you can do that as well. And we'll do it just both ways for the sake of this video. So for this, let's just go ahead and run execute. And you see everybody with the last name starting with S populates here, right? So if we wanted to go ahead and reverse this, and let's just go ahead and get our data back, we can come here and let's just go ahead and get rid of the S there. And let's just say % first, which means what doesn't matter what comes first, long as the last letter is S, right? So we're going to execute. And now we see everybody that has a name that ends in S populates here, right? So that's how you do the %. And that's how you use the like. The last piece of this is if I put this % wildcard at the beginning and the end, now I'm saying give me the last name if it has an S in it, no matter if it's in the front, if it's in the back, or if it's in the middle. So now I'm seeing that I'm getting everything with S's. S Austin, it's an S in Smith, it's an S in Jackson, it's an S at the end of Michaels, and now you're seeing how we're getting more experience with the where statement. All right, so the next way you can use this is, let's say for example, it starts with the S, and let's get the data back. Let's just say, for example, it starts with the S, and then somewhere in there we want to look for something with an O in it, and then we're going to hit that, throw that percent wildcard in there, and we're going to run execute. And now we see it starts with the S, and then it also has an O in it, which snow is the one that it was able to locate. All right, so the last thing we have is, let's just return everything. Okay, we got everything back. The last thing we have is our null and not null, right? So if you look at this data, you can see that there aren't any empty spaces. So let's just give you an example. So if you say last name, then what that does is it says give me anything with last name is null. Since there's nothing with last name is null, or there's nothing, it's going to return everything. So that's that in a nutshell. All right, last but not least, we're going to go to the end statement. So in order to do the end statement, we're going to go with first name. So in doing this, you're going to say, give me first name in. And then what we can do now is you can use your in as multiple equal statements. So you can take this and say in, then you open parentheses and say Carl. And then let's just pick Pam. And then let's just pick John. And don't forget those. And what you do is close it. Then you can just execute it. And now you're going to see how you can get Carl, Pam, and John. So that is how you do the where statement. And that is going to wrap it up for this tutorial. So, and I hope you guys were able to learn a lot and really just open your eyes to what amazing things you can do using SQL and how you can use this as something else you can just kind of add to your tool belt. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. My name is Carl, and we're going to continue to learn on the go as we grow. If you guys loved the tutorial, if you want me to dive deeper into using SQL and dive deeper into using different statements, leave a comment down in the description and I can go further in it. I do plan on doing more things like join and stuff like that, so you can see how you can connect your data. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and share this video to your young kids and nephews and anybody that's interested in getting to the database space. Peace.